Hi, everyone. My name is Nisha Tambe, and I am the Startup Battlefield editor here at TechCrunch. This is going to be really great. Columbus is quickly becoming a major tech hub in America, and there are a handful of investment firms that are actively writing checks to startups located in Columbus and throughout the country also. We have two of those investors here today. From Overlooked Ventures, we have Janine Sickmeyer, who has co-founded the fund and also runs a $50 million fund investing in early stage companies with one or more historically ignored founders. We also have Wolf Starr, who is the CEO and managing partner at Atlas Firms, which also collaborates with and supports the Ohio Impact Fund and the Pride Fund. Both have been in the Columbus ecosystem for a couple of years and also are focusing on expanding the investments that they have in the region. I'm thrilled to be with them today. Hey, y'all, how you doing?
Hey, great. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you so much for making this time.
Why don't we go ahead and jump in? What are the average check sizes that we are seeing in the Columbus ecosystem right now?
That's a great question. So it's got a pretty wide range when you're looking at emerging funds and then some of the other investments which are happening in Columbus. There are some early checks coming in at that pre-seed seed stage at the $25,000 to $75,000 range. But we're also seeing some later stage funding, which is coming from the coast and also coming from collaborations with some of the funds which are located here. And those go all the way up past Series A, Series B.
We've had some great exits in the past few years. How do you feel that has changed the ecosystem?
I think some of the exits recently in the Columbus area have, we're seeing those founders start to come back and deploy, and invest in the community as well. Some of them are either starting new businesses or they're investing through funds or creating their own funds. And so that's been pretty exciting to see over the years. I've been in this ecosystem as a founder myself since 2012. And so now as a VC, I'm seeing it from the other side.
What are some of the city or state financial incentives or infrastructure that supports founders or people who are hoping to start a company in Columbus right now?
So there are a lot of different collaborations. Everyone will speak of the Columbus Way, which is how groups get together from the corporate level all the way down to the grassroots. But we're finding that there are definitely some incentives to bring companies into Columbus, both on the city, the county, and the state level. But where we're finding the greatest success is when our founders are reaching out to the different partners throughout the city, throughout the state, and they're collaborating in ways more than just financial money, where they're saying, okay, I want to come on in and I want to become a part of the Columbus community. Who should I talk to? How should I talk to them? And that's where I'm seeing the even greater success is people just being willing to have that conversation and make the connections, whether it's the first corporate client or whether it's to the great incubator. One of Columbus's greatest strengths is that you're always a couple phone calls away from who you need to talk to take your company to that next level.
That Columbus, that Columbus ecosystem you're referencing, and also, Midwestern hospitality seems like it's permeating through the ecosystem as well. Do you think that that is the number one standout quality of the ecosystem at this time?
I think it's one of the, it's not small, it's a thriving, kind of blossoming community. And, but it's small enough that everyone knows one another and you can, and everyone's really supportive. So whether it's VCs or angels or founders or recently exited founders, everyone kind of can, like Wolf said, really help one another find those connections. And whether that's, then going to the coast and bringing, investment in, we're seeing it kind of helping the Columbus community thrive.
So you had mentioned there were, some founders who had exits coming in. Do either of you or both of you have an example of a founder that has had success either outside of the area or in the area and then come back?
I'll hop on this one first because Janine's story is phenomenal. We were talking about it earlier. So one story which I'd like to point to is through the Pride Fund. We made an investment into Tanisha Robinson, who has a early CBD company that's based here in Columbus. And part of what attracted us to working with her was that, number one, she's just a very, very successful entrepreneur that always has Columbus sort of at her heart and in her focus. But back a couple of years ago, when there were less than 100 Black women who ever were able to raise $1 million through VC, she actually did it twice. And so when she came back and she was like, okay, Columbus, I'm ready to take my next swing at another very successful opportunity, we were just excited to rally around her. And a ton of the Columbus community did as well, because we knew that she was a very smart bet, and she brought that glory back to Columbus.
Oh, that's fantastic.
I love that story. That's one of my favorites. And she's been around, been a founder in the area for so long and supporting other founders too, which is great. One founder who is also a serial entrepreneur, built a lot of companies here in Columbus, and he actually had a recent exit through his insurance company. And right after his exit, it was like when I was starting my fund, I sent out some emails to potential investors in the fund in the Columbus area. And he happened to see one of our announcements in the Columbus Business First article, and immediately just sent me over, an email that was like, I'm in, I want to be, one of the first LPs. And so that was so exciting. I'm like, someone from Columbus who, had a great exit and now is reinvesting in funds and founders, and specifically interested in women-owned companies to, help them kind of find the funds they need in the area.
That's fantastic, and also a testament to both local success and the importance of local media too. That outreach is critical there. So let's dive into the investment side of things a little bit more. There's a lot of money that's been pouring in. How has that changed the way that you're investing, and also the way that companies can continue in their growth rounds?
Yeah, I can share. We started our fund 1 year ago, almost to the day. And it was, Brandon, my partner, and I are both new VCs, in terms of, emerging fund managers. And I've been an angel and a founder and all of that. But, this was a really exciting time to start a venture capital fund, and especially in, this untapped city, the Midwest. And so we're seeing, there's so many opportunities. We invest in historically ignored founders, overlooked founders, and we've gotten around 2,500 applicants mostly from outside the Bay Area, and it's all in, founders of tech companies. And so we have a lot more opportunities than we even have the capital to invest in, and a lot of investors in, in our group, like in our network. So we're doing, like, even though there's a lot of money out there, a lot of investment into founders, we're still seeing there's just not enough into the overlooked founders that we invest in. We're always, getting more press, as you mentioned, how important that is for potential founders, and hoping, that we can see some more investment into these groups. But that's, we've got a good amount coming in from our LPs. We're still raising our $50 million round under 506C, and at the same time, receiving the wonderful deal flow from these founders. So I think there's still work to be done, but we're excited to be a part of it.
Yeah, and I just want to echo that. I mean, so these last couple of years have been interesting in so many different ways. But as far as our industry is concerned, the two largest changes which I've seen are, one, that emerging fund managers, such as Overlooked Ventures and the funds which we work with, have really had an opportunity. Now, it's not enough, but it's moving in the right direction. And so we're getting a lot of different partnerships with some of these more traditional ones, and it's helping us raise. But Also, geography has changed a lot. And the way that we do business, I mean, we're both on the road quite a bit. Nothing beats going and doing an event in a city and having high net worth individuals come on as LPs. But there are ways where we're able to raise money for our funds virtually that did not exist 3-4 years ago. And there are some great groups, our friend Mac with Rare Breed and some others have proven that it's possible. But using those tools, the fact that Columbus has some of these funds popping up, and Columbus is known, and we've got some larger funds and we've got attention, makes it a lot easier for us to say, this is why we're based here. This is what we're doing. And it helps us. A great example is the Ohio Impact Fund, which is a partnership between ourselves and Loud Capital. Most of our investors who are coming in aren't even in Ohio. We just have these really great deals and we're able to point to them and how we're able to support them. And that brings a lot of resources in from the outside. And it's not just in Columbus, it's happening in a lot of great cities. But it's something we've worked together on.
What you mentioned that not all the LPs are regional. What is the primary two draws that LPs from outside the region are like, yes, we're going to start investing in these regions, we're going to start investing in Columbus?
I would say the two largest draws are, one, just the quality of our portfolios. The companies in general will joke that we Pepsi challenge them against any other portfolios in the country. And I'd say the same is true for Overlooked and some of these others. But I'd say the even greater reason why we're getting investors from outside of the region is because we've got managing partners who are more than just putting money in and making bets. They are supporting those companies and they're bringing in their networks, and we're using our partnerships where we are very pre-seed and seed and a little bit of A, but we want to make sure that our companies are able to be supported once they grow beyond us. And so we already know that when a company that we invest into at a seed stage round at a couple $100,000 maybe, they're going to need more money on their future rounds. And so we bring in partners from the very beginning to say, if these companies reach these goals, then we would like for you to invest in them, and we'll make it easy for you to invest in them. And so that's very attractive for investors because they know that we have a plan that is not just us making bets, it's us making smart decisions and then supporting them wisely.
Yeah, and I would say that a lot of the LPs that we've talked to that are outside the region are excited about the opportunities that they have seen in the Midwest area that, and they're not as close to those opportunities. So, like Wolf said, we're getting involved, at the very early stage. We say we're the friends and family round you've never had. We're pre-seed, and we're helping these founders get to the next level by getting on the ground with them, helping them with, their early hire, their first hires, their, product roadmap, their marketing strategy. It's like, we're involved heavily from the beginning, and not all, funds operate that way. And I think that, like you mentioned, Nisha, there's a little bit of Midwest hospitality there, a little bit of that. And then also, I wanted to note that we got our first institutional LP, which was Bank of America. And we're so excited about that because although they're, in New York, they also operate in these different regions. And so they're excited about the opportunity to, be able to work with us and partner with us in the Midwest area because, they know the opportunity for these kind of untapped cities that don't have as much access to capital.
Taking a half step back now, looking at some of the data, the investment data, we are seeing a flow of investments in, very early stage and early stage companies, but that does start to drop off in the growth rounds. What is the challenge there? What is the hiccup?
I would say that one of the challenges is that, to put it bluntly, a lot of us, this is our first time putting together funds. Many of us are entrepreneurs, angel investors and whatnot, but we don't have a huge amount of capital to kick things off with. And so we're investing earlier so that we're able to support those companies. Now, as we grow, there are two ways to do it. The one is to partner with other organizations which do write those later stage checks, which has been a focus of ours. And the other is we just keep growing. And as we're releasing more funds and more targeted funds, as Overlooked and other groups are getting to a point where they're getting a little bit later stage as they're helping, it's going to come through in time where we are going to have a lot of what are pre-seed and seed emerging managers becoming growth managers as we grow, because in many ways, funds are startups as well. And so we're still in our early steps.
Well, looking at funds as startups, if we look at the landscape of the funds that are doing also growth in the area, there's of course Drive Capital, which has been so, kind of significant in the region and has been there for a minute. How much of the air are they sucking up? How much room are they leaving for other funds to grow in that way?
I think there's plenty of room. And I love working with Drive personally. And also I know a lot of other managers do. And I think that this is one of the things that, for us, the newbies here, really get a chance to grow those relationships with them. And I'd love to see another large growth fund like this come in and come from another area and bring opportunity for that stage in Columbus. And I think that they're very open to meeting and, with all funds, with all, to build relationships and be that next step. I think there's plenty of room, but I'm also like, I love working with them. So I'm like, yeah, I think Wolf agrees.
Yeah, they've been a large partner. When we first kicked off the Pride Fund, we did our launch party at their office, and Mark came on out and said, "Okay, this is something which we can do as a next step together. So we can solve problems, we can grow together," and they've been an amazing partner ever since.
What is Janine? This question is more directed to you. What was the moment that when you're like, Overlook is going to be launching in this region, Columbus? What brought you to this area, and what do you think the additional drivers are for other investors that are coming in?
So what brought me to the Columbus area or the VC space?
What brought you to the Columbus area?
Okay, so I have been here, grew up here. I built my company here, and exited my company here, and then started my fund here. And I will not go anywhere else. And I think that of course, my family's here. I have 4 small children. I love talking about building a family, building a company, and building a fund all in this area because you have access to talent coming out of the university, access to nannies. I've got to be honest, babysitters and nannies coming out of the university helps a successful business parent. And there's, it's affordable. There's affordable housing, a very inclusive community, strong LGBTQ plus community. There's just so many reasons I think that I'm always telling people to move here. And I'm always saying, you could have a backyard like mine because you don't get a backyard in a lot of cities, but the Columbus ecosystem for startups has been really supportive. And honestly, I didn't see a lot of early stage venture funds when I was trying to raise my capital for my business. And I was like, one day I'm going to start a early stage capital fund, and I'm going to stay in Columbus, and I'm going to bring people here. And that was kind of my idea. And we're just getting started there, but I am like dead set on that. So from other investors coming to entrepreneurs building here, I'm team Columbus all the way.
Well, for Columbus is a very diverse, ecosystem, not just from the tech perspective, but just from a demographic perspective. Wolf, I would love to hear your thoughts on how you feel like this has been reflected in the tech ecosystem and the early stage founders, especially given, Ohio Impact Fund, Pride Fund, things like that.
Absolutely. So I always want prefaces to say we still have a long way to go. And that long way to go falls on us white folks to be able to make sure we're creating more opportunity, and we're giving up chairs and abdicating when we can and building tables when we can't. But it has been amazing to see. I mean, I remember 5-6 years ago, The brothers Jones, who are now doing Color Coded Labs, were just starting Black Hack. And that was a tech program specifically for Black and Brown individuals that were interested in joining the space. We've seen folks like Ben Blanquera put together networking events where you'd walk in and there would be people from all walks of life coming together and just supporting each other. When we came up with the concept for the Pride Fund, we realized that there was no fund in the country specifically serving the LGBTQ+ community. And there was no better place to start than here, because that community has been supporting each other in so many different ways over the years. And so when it comes to tech and talent and individuals, Columbus has done it better than many other cities. And that's really what has given us the leverage to sort of amplify that early work.
Awesome. Well, we only have a couple of minutes left, so I'm going to give you some rapid fire questions here because I only am halfway through my list. OSU is nearby, and I know plays a significant role in the ecosystem, developing founders. What are ways that founders who are not coming out of that model can kind of get their foot in the door in terms of getting an early investment?
Well, if you want to take this.
So when we're taking a look at OSU, OSU is a big part of Columbus. I would say 15 years ago, that is how people found Columbus, was through thinking about OSU, and it's grown. OSU has a club called the Business Builders Club, which is a networking group where a lot of our founders have come through. But what they do really well is they pair with members off campus, and they will work in collaboration. During the early days of the pandemic, there was a group called Can't Stop Columbus, which was a collaboration between anyone who wanted to put up their hand and say they want to work together. And that's where we saw a lot of individuals who were on campus meeting folks off campus and vice versa.
That's great. Really quickly now, insurance and healthcare have been the two highlights in terms of investments in the region for a while now. Do you believe that will remain the case? And if not, what are one or two of the early new industry trends that you're seeing in the investment landscape?
Yeah, I think, oh no, go right ahead.
I was just going to say quickly, InsurTech is still going to be a staple of Columbus because of those great partners. But we are seeing a lot coming from new energy solutions and other kinds of new forms of transportation and whatnot as well. It's very interesting here.
Yeah, I would agree. I think that we'll continue to see a lot of healthcare, I think, in this area. And yeah, I'm like, I echo what Wolf says. He's got his finger on the pulse here. He knows what's going on right everywhere in Columbus. He always has. So I pass that to him. I admire that and love just learning from you as well.
I want to just take this last minute to give you both an opportunity to share one piece of wisdom that you would give to an aspiring founder or an early stage founder in the Columbus region.
Yeah, I would say just start networking, communicating, connecting with everyone you can. And I did the 50 coffee meetings thing, which turned into 100 to 20, to 200. It was, just, you never know who could open doors to other people. And if you don't have those connections, like most of us, overlooked founders don't, then just start those, talks now and just get as many meetings as you can, because you never know what it could lead to.
And I'll, as always, echo what Janine says, and I'll just add to it that Columbus loves outside validation and a larger network beyond just here. And I've actually learned so much from Janine and Brandon on how they network nationally through social media, specifically on Twitter and LinkedIn. Following them is a great primer on a national network. And then from there, you'll see who they're communicating with, and it just grows and grows and grows. And then bring that back to your conversations in Columbus, and you'll automatically have a ton of things to talk about with everybody here, and it makes you a bit of an expert for free.
Well, fantastic. I want to thank you both for coming and chatting with us today. It was great to get a VC perspective on the small but very strong and growing Columbus ecosystem. So thank you both so much. And we'll move to our next panel.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.